Okay, so it's 6 o'clock. We'll call it to order. This is the Board of Health meeting Thursday, August 3rd. 6 p.m. in the land use room meeting. And present on Zoom, we have Tricia Sedlow. Anybody else on Zoom?
That's it.
Just Tricia?
Yeah.
Okay. Sue Brosk is present.
Carrie Putnam.
Tom Hibbert.
Megan Lightcap.
All right.
Okay.
We are recording. Yes.
And we have no public, nobody's on for public comment.
Nope.
Okay, no public comment. So the minute, Megan sent the minutes out. But then I added some things to the minutes. So what I added was your backup inspector, what our backup inspector would do is basically
Yep.
fill in when you're unable to conduct inspections due to days off or heavy workload. E-permitting, I just reworded that. I added mobile food units for those food inspections. And I added a little more about the beach, because we talked about possible reasons for the high coliform count and that DNA test to determine whether it's animal or human. And discuss ways to notify the public when the beach was open. So
And-
those are
and we
really
got
changed.
that.
things.
Thank you.
Call, yeah.
Thank you.
So if they're acceptable to everybody. Tom and Megan told us that we do not have to sign the minutes as long as we approve them at a meeting.
Okay.
Tom just suggested that I sign just to show that that's the version that we approved in case there's other versions around.
Okay. I move that we accept the minutes with the revisions that you made.
I second that. All in favor?
I,
Sue Broska, aye. Terry, aye. And I'll just sign that. Be the one. Can I
Yeah.
borrow your pen, please?
absolutely. And you sent those out electronically, right? I think I got those just. right.
Well, you got Megan's and then
I think I
mine. I
got your-
just, mine I just sent about.
Yeah, I
15
think I
minutes
got
What I
ago.
can do is I can revise them tomorrow and I'll resend them to everyone, so they have the revised version.
Okay, so you do have the revised version.
Well, you said you emailed it to me, right?
I emailed it
Yep,
to you.
so I'll do the
Okay.
corrections and then, send them back out to the whole board.
Well, I made the corrections on here for you.
Oh, perfect, okay.
It's just too hard to do strikeouts and all that stuff.
Yeah, no, that's totally fine,
That's the
yeah,
last page of it.
okay,
And then
great.
And you can just print out the other two
Okay,
pages.
yep.
Okay.
Perfect.
Thank you.
All right, so we're done with that. Now, I didn't get the updated. You're gonna email out all the
Yeah.
things.
Well, next on the agenda, we have the nursing report first.
Oh, Julie?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Trish.
That's
Okay.
okay. All right, so quick and simple. Nothing new to report. I'm still continuing in every town, my blood pressure clinics, my outreach programming, and that's about it. And as far as communicables, I had really tick-borne disease is the topic, and I had a norovirus investigation that I'm still conducting for a resident from Southwick. It was kind of a boring July. That's all I have.
Very good. We like boring months.
Yeah.
That's right.
Have any questions,
No,
Tricia?
no.
No,
thank
Tricia,
you.
you got anything to add? Any issues or anything like that?
No, everything's running smoothly.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Have a good night.
You
too.
And we have Tricia's report too, which we'll just include in the minutes. Do you already have a copy of it?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so we don't need that. Okay, now the permits.
Yes. So with the permits, I have had a very busy string of perks and haven't had the chance to sit down with Megan when we've both been in the office. So that, I hoped maybe I'd have time yesterday, but did not. So, we'll continue that for next month. luckily at this time of year, not many applications are coming in. The backup inspector, so for Tom, still getting kind of confusing, conflicting information from DPH, or not from DPH, from the state ethics and the Mass Association of Health Boards. They kind of said, there's a category called a special municipal employee, which it might make sense to appoint Tom as that, but that has to go through the select board and it's a whole process. And I honestly don't think he would be interested in going through that process. So I'll put a little more effort into investigating if it's allowable or not, but I'm kind of thinking that the proper way to do it would be too much of a hassle. But Crystal is ready, willing, and available. She just took over for Tom actually in Granville. And I believe she's also going to be taking over in Russell. So she has all the certifications. She's been in Westfield for almost 2 years now as an inspector. And I trained her myself. So I think, and it's for our purposes, it's going to be a very small workload. So, and I don't think she's interested in ever doing perks and plans. So I think by using her, we would kind of avoid that issue of, is there a conflict of interest or not? So,
Have you already mentioned it to her?
yep, I mentioned it to her. She's interested, and so I put it on the agenda for a vote. If you guys are interested, we can have a vote to appoint her. I believe Michelle's out, but I will just check with her about an appointment letter. Formally, she has to get sworn in or whatever, but I think we can start with you guys voting, and then I can run it by Michelle next week and make sure any paperwork is done properly.
Well, I have a question. So is her potential conflict of interest because she's employed in Westfield?
No, it's
Has she ever worked here before?
never worked here before. The conflict of interest for Tom and a lot of the other backup inspectors that we've had in the past is because they do private septic work
Okay,
in other towns. So they used to use the old inspector from Westfield. And his name was Barry. And he would do perks in Southwick because his primary job was in Westfield.
Mhm.
But if Tom was on vacation, he would cover for Tom, and also the old inspector from Agawam would cover from Tom. They obviously wouldn't do an inspection on work they had done.
Mhm.
So if they had done that septic plan, then someone else would have to inspect it, or would have to wait for Tom to come back. So I think the way it was done, I think we were avoiding any conflict of interest. But now that Tom also has the issue of, he was the former health director, and then when you leave your full-time employment from a town, that raises a whole
Sure.
bunch of other issues. So he was looking into whether or not he can be our backup. And
And I
then,
understand that part. I
Yeah.
understand why his conflict, but I just don't
Yeah.
understand why Crystal. Does
no,
she
so
do
no,
prep?
so she wouldn't, that's one of the.
So there's no conflict
right.
where she's
I
concerned.
don't really
Okay.
understand Tom's conflict because if he's not doing any work in town right now, say.
Well, he did the perk,
The
that he told us
college
about it
child.
on the food
Okay.
pantries, and he'd like to do more work in Southwick, so.
But if he doesn't inspect or. approve,
Right, so it makes
So-
sense,
so
it makes
does it make
sense to all of us, but we're not getting a clear enough answer from DPH for Tom to be comfortable with being our backup, and so.
And have you talked to Tom?
Yes, oh yeah, so he's gonna still try and get a clear answer, and I'll work on it as well.
So therefore, we don't want to offer to Crystal yet, do we? If.
Well, we can have multiple, because
Yeah.
I have a vacation at the end of this month, so,
Right, so do we need to meet with Crystal though?
I don't
I mean,
think
we
so.
never had to
If-
meet with Barry.
Yeah, if you, if you want to meet with her, we could do that. We would probably have to do a special meeting, or based on my very high recommendation, you could appoint her based on that, and then,
So what would be the guidelines?
I was
Yeah,
gonna say, what
so,
are we gonna do,
yes.
like we talked about last time?
Yeah.
We'll be putting a letter together.
yeah,
with-
so the, I think the appointment letter would say something along the lines of, as the backup inspector for the purposes of, conducting, septic final inspections,
To say inspections.
Yeah,
period, 'cause
septic-
It could be a restaurant. it could be a
right,
fire,
septic
an
inspections, restaurant or housing inspections,
Just say
when-
inspections.
yeah, conducting inspections, when I guess activated by the Board of Health or the Health Director. So that way she wouldn't just be, she wouldn't just be able to come to Southwick and do a food inspection, but it would
Mhm.
only be when requested by, either you guys or by me. So that way I'm gonna be gone the last week of August.
Or if we ask Megan to call her.
Right, yeah. Yeah, but that would still be by either
Appointed. by
any
the board.
combination of us,
Right,
even
so
if
do you
Megan's
want
officially
to
making the call.
Draft up that letter and I will sign it.
Sure, yeah, so I'll consult with Michelle next week. But I think we should do a vote now, just to. Then that's what the appointment letter can be based off of your vote tonight.
Okay. I make a motion based on Tom's high appraisal of Crystal Dubé,
Duguay,
that we appoint her as a backup health inspector. And mainly because we don't know what's going on with Tom.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So, and we need somebody for when Tom takes vacation. And also. Well, we make that motion, because it's, if Tom's clear, then we could,
right,
Appoint him.
right, and
well, if Tom's clear, we already have him, because he's already
he's already on
He's
the,
already
on the books, yeah. And
So
in
we
the
don't have to
past,
do
we had multiple, we had Randy White and Barry and Dennis LaCourse.
Yeah,
So they,
Because Crystal could be out when you're out.
Right,
So
Yes.
that's-
right, so
Okay,
it's
so-
good to have a couple people you can
Yes,
call
like a
if there's,
pool.
so I
yeah,
make that motion kind of jumbled.
yeah,
And I second it with the little caveat that the letter,
Yeah,
you write the letter. and it
appointment letter.
outlines what she can and what she and Tom
Yeah.
can and can't do.
So, yeah, if you do write that, if you send it to me and
okay,
Terry. and-
Yep.
And,
and
Mackenzie.
Mackenzie, okay,
Also, I guess I need to write a letter saying that when, Alex is no longer
yeah. Yeah.
on the books or needed.
Yeah, what I meant to Michelle, I think it was Michelle asked me that.
So I'm not sure if I give it to, send it to Carl,
Yeah.
ECC Michelle, or send it to Michelle, CC Carl, or Laura has to know too.
Yeah,
I'll send it to Carl and CC those two people,
okay,
just saying that he's he's no longer,
right.
his
Right.
services are no.
Was his,
longer required.
when you guys appointed him in January, was that through the fiscal year? Or was it through the calendar year?
We didn't give any
Didn't, okay,
timeline,
okay,
we just
yeah,
said, if you, whatever help you needed,
okay, all right,
so I'll have to find that letter and just say his services are no longer needed,
okay,
okay?
all right. All
I'm
right.
gonna, I can email it, right? I'll email
I
it.
think so, yeah. Okay. Next is Cooper Excavating, so I think I have a little packet that I prepared, and I also wrote up my report. So I'll just read my report, I guess. So this is regarding
Okay,
four,
so first we have, Is installers permit, and this,
Yeah, well, those are his applications that he just submitted, so.
okay, go ahead.
It's regarding 465 North Loomis Street. The original system was installed when the house was built in the 1980s. We have no records on file, which is standard for a house of that age. I'm not surprised we wouldn't have records. But the system was a tank, a distribution box, and 2 seepage pits. According to the homeowners and Bruce Cooper, the system started to experience some breakout into the lawn in 2021. In an attempt to save the system and prolong its useful life, over the course of a few months, Mr. Cooper pumped the tank, added ventilation to the seepage pits, added aeration to the tank, and added a small trench to the system. No perk test was done. The health department was not made aware of the situation, and Mr. Cooper did not have a Southwick installer's or hauler's license. In violation of both Title V and Southwick Board of Health regulation. The owners recently had a Title V inspection done. The inspector, Brian Pranka, contacted me before issuing the report. He wanted me to see it for myself due to its unconventional nature. I met him at the property on Friday, July 17th. We were both in agreement the system clearly met failure criteria and explained to the homeowners what their next step should be. On July 26th, I witnessed a perk test conducted by Josh and Ernie Matthew. Mr. Cooper was present and did the excavation. To my knowledge, Mr. Matthew is working on a septic design that will be submitted for approval in the near future. Mr. Cooper did not have a 2023 installer's or hauler's license in Southwick. At the perk test, I asked Mr. Cooper to submit an application so that the board could consider his request. I cannot say whether or not the homeowners knew at the time that the work done in 21 was not in line with the code, and it is not the Board of Health's purview to arbitrate any dispute between, I missed a sentence there, between homeowner and installer. However, in the best interest of the homeowners, I would recommend that the board grant Cooper Excavation a temporary / conditional haulers and installers license that is only valid for work done at 465 North Loomis Street. The board at their discretion can, by issuance or of an order, revoke a septic installer's license for a set amount of time. A conditional license would eliminate the need to revoke Cooper Excavation's license. The board could still notify him that this will remain in his file, and should he apply for a renewal of either license, the board would request the health director bring the application to the board for a vote for a to be determined amount of time.
So who is, was Mr. Cooper?
Bruce Cooper, he's mainly out of the hill towns. He's been an installer for as long as I've been in the business. And yeah,
Shouldn't you have known better?
he absolutely should have known better. Absolutely.
And definitely there's no records anywhere,
No records and
not even in the complaint file.
no. So he 100% should have known better, should have known that he shouldn't have done that, which is why I think, we don't technically have to revoke his license because he doesn't have one. But I do know, in line with revoking a license, you say a set amount of time. So I think if we set for 2 years or 3 years, the board would want to vote on his application and would likely deny it based on his record. However, I think in the best interest of the homeowners, because like I said, it's not up to us to, arbitrate their dispute or anything. But they paid him money, and I think he had good intentions, even though he knew it was a violation. But just to try and, help them get some more time out of their system before it was really, really bad, even though they would have been better suited to just put any money they paid him at the time into a new system and do it properly. But I think as long as they come to an agreement between the homeowners and Mr. Cooper, which is their business, not our business, If they choose to hire him, if he gives them any sort of, deal, if they work together to come up with something that is agreeable. I do think it would be fair to the homeowners to allow Mr. Cooper to have the temporary license to do the job for them and to allow him to fix his mistake. But then again, we don't want to give him a full license
Mhm.
because, he obviously did a very blatant violation.
Have you
So-
inspected his work in Westfield?
Yeah, not a ton. He really does stay up in the hill towns a lot. But I would see him, a couple times a year, and I never had any issues that I can recall with him in Westfield.
And so obviously we don't do any penalties for doing work without having the appropriate license.
Normal,
The penalty is, we can decide whether he gets a license to do it or not.
right,
Or
right.
revoke it?
Right, so if someone with a current license, did a bunch of work with like that without a permit, we would probably pull their license.
And then they'd have to
And-
apply all over again when.
Yeah, and you usually, the state code says it's for I can't remember the way they word it, but when you issue an order to revoke a license, you have to specify the time. So we would say, if he had a current license, we would say, we're revoking your license for, 2 years or 5 years, or
Okay.
you can't just revoke it indefinitely. So,
Okay.
So he pumps the tank too.
so he pumps and installs
You
the
can
system.
Pump their tank too.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's up to you guys. That was kind of my suggestion to give him the temporary license to, kind of help out the homeowners a little bit. But it's up to you guys if you're not comfortable with him doing,
He would pay the full charge.
yeah, the full charge for both permits.
And would he, and is this what he's done already? So the
The-
120, the installer and the hauler, or was this
He-
for what's already been done?
No, this is for this year. So he faxed these in, so we haven't officially received any payment yet.
Okay,
So,
I would definitely say it's contingent on that.
yeah, oh,
I'm
absolutely.
getting paid.
Yeah,
Well, if we just, he should maybe know upfront that, okay, you'd have to pay full price for the installer's permit and the hauler's permit.
yeah,
But it would only be for
for this one,
this.
This one job,
465
yep.
North Loomis. And then you'd have to come, and then we'd have to decide next year. I don't wanna say you can't work in town for 2 years. I mean,
right,
Yeah.
right, exact. So if, that's the way I worded it in my report, that,
So this,
when he reapplies for, the next year, 2 years, whatever you want to say, that rather than just saying a blanket no, that, you would request I bring his application to the board to
Yeah.
decide. So
if he wanted to.
if
do
he
work
wants
in
to,
town.
yeah, right. So if he wants to come back in 24, we're not gonna say you can't apply, but we're gonna say, come to the board meeting and we'll decide
So,
at that point.
so when is fiscal year here? Is it June to whatever, when?
July.
June to July, but
Okay.
permits run calendar year.
Okay, so, I mean, I would feel comfortable till the end of the year.
to let it go to the end of the year.
Yeah, but he has to reapply in January if he wants to do. What do you think? I mean, you've got more
Well,
experience.
no,
with
no, I
this
was
than
thinking
do.
that too, or else we take Tom's suggestion and just, if he wants to work on this, and if he realizes
So
he's gonna have to pay
Episodic rather than,
125 and 125 and 100, and if you wanna pay that amount of money just to do this one job, period, and then you're gonna have to come back next year because of,
Right. Right.
so if he found some other big job in November, he would come back here, he would submit an application for this year or wait until that's the only thing.
Yeah.
If he were to,
Theoretically. Yeah, he could.
yeah. I'm okay.
And
Yeah.
it'd be up to us whether we have to make them pay again,
right, right,
which, we make them pay again.
yeah,
I mean, as far as we know, we don't know what he did with what he hauled away, because he's got no permit on him.
right,
Could be
right,
in the Connecticut River. It could be causing the E. coli over there in the, in the lake.
yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
I do know he has, he does have licenses in other towns. But you're right, we don't
And
know.
we would not have found out if there hadn't have been a Title V, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm good with just this.
So we make a motion that we approve his 2 permits for his application, issue a permit for callers and for the installers. If he pays,
mhm,
and just make it clear to him that we'll let you do this one job in town this year. This is what you have to pay.
mhm.
And then if you want to do more work next year, then you'd have to come
Come before the board.
the next calendar year.
Yeah,
Or really anytime. I mean, if he
Right.
decides that the job in December is too big to pass up,
yeah,
any further.
Yeah.
Any further job, he's gonna need to come back.
Yeah.
here.
yeah. Okay.
Is that reasonable, Tom?
I think so. I think so.
Okay, so I made that motion.
And a second.
Second, Megan has to just figure out exactly what that motion was.
I will.
Carrie,
I'm used to doing
All
that.
in favor? Sue? Aye. Terry, aye.
All right,
you can't just be hauling that stuff anywhere.
right,
Oh,
right.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I drive up and down, and this is totally but it's a health question. Do we ever do any testing at North Pond?
Nope.
Where those people,
Is there,
people use that beach? And
Kings
there's,
Beach.
yeah, Kings Beach, and there's rumor that because there's no outhouses or anything, that they just use the area. So if we ever have an outbreak, I know it just is, some days there's lots of cars.
Well,
okay,
They have, don't they have porta potties there?
I
now?
don't think, do they have
Well,
a
I
By the
thought they
road?
had put conservation and put something up
Yeah,
the road.
they have,
to hike
okay,
in.
rail.
Cause I had
And-
just heard not too long ago that you could go and you'd see toilet paper out on the beach and all of that.
We've been-
People park their boats there. I doubt that.
Okay,
I boat out there.
Okay.
And it's the same regular people that go out there. They may be wading out in the water in their bathing suits and using the toilet, but I don't think they're going like on the beach there.
I had just heard from
They
a
would have
couple
to
of
go hike
people
back
that,
in. But because there is a porta potty at the launch.
okay,
So if you needed to use the restroom,
and is
you can
that
go to the
where,
launch.
if
and
you're
you
on
can also-
Long
if you-
Yard, if you're on Long Yard and you have that parking.
you can hike in, but they have really cleaned that up quite a bit.
Okay.
So people are not really hiking down. People are coming down and using, like kids are kind of coming down and using the swing and the tree to jump off of. But as far as like by the water line,
I just heard from a couple, when
Yeah.
they find out you're on the Board of Health, they bring you all this kind of
Mhm.
stuff.
Well, there
Yeah.
was
And
a
it just
big,
might bode well to kind of keep in the back of your
yeah,
mind about that.
there
if
was
we
the
have-
big thing before you got on the board when Alex was here about them finding toilet paper, diapers, things
Yeah.
like that.
Yes.
Up above.
there were
Yeah.
people coming
Trash.
down. They were having bonfires last
And-
year.
and
I was
it's nasty.
sending pictures and videos to
Yeah.
Sabrina, the coordinator, conservation coordinator. It was really bad.
yeah,
Really bad.
I heard this just recently, but it could be old stuff, but it might be something that.
I mean, there
kind
are
of-
occasionally kids with trash and whatever, but most of the people that boat out there regularly, like myself, my family included, like my kids look for trash floating in the water, we pick it up. Everyone they want it clean. They don't
Good.
want like,
Right.
Just
the
don't
people that
wade in
regularly
there like
use
you
it
did at
are
the
very-
beach. If there's
conscious
ever any
of
question,
that.
don't wade. Please don't
Yeah.
wade.
Have you been there, Tom?
no, I didn't even know that
Yeah,
beach
yeah,
existed,
there-
so,
if you drive down Long Yard, there's like a semicircular,
yeah.
wooded,
Yeah.
that's to that access.
okay, all right, yeah, I will check that out,
Nature preserve.
and I will talk to,
It's quite a hike into the water.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'll talk to Sabrina about that, because I know there was a similar area in Westfield, right on the river when you're going, you're taking the bridge,
Green Bridge.
the Green Bridge, the original
Yeah.
Green
Mhm,
Bridge,
mhm.
southbound. When you look to the right, there's the dike, and then there's softball fields over there. And there's an area where it's very flat and you can get right up to the river, and people do swim there. But it's posted no swimming. So it wasn't an official bathing beach
Yeah,
per the state code. And if, I'm sure people swam there when they weren't supposed to, but if like the police would drive through and they say, hey, no swimming here, and it would make them leave. So that might be something the town should look into doing for that area, and just say, this isn't a swimming area. It's not tested. You're not supposed to swim here.
Mhm.
To just kind of cover that,
Mm.
that liability, and make sure people know that it's not, and then if they do anything, it's at their own risk.
But that's all part of a passive recreation, right? That's
Mhm.
what it's supposed to be, passive recreation,
Mhm.
that
Yeah.
area.
Yeah, so I'll bounce it off Sabrina and see if maybe they already have signs that say no swimming. I haven't been out there myself, so,
But I just, I had just heard that probably within the last couple of weeks.
yeah,
And then noticed a bunch of cars, so they're either hiking or.
Right.
There's a
Right.
bunch of cars.
right. Cause
There.
that could become, an issue cause it's owned by the town, I would think, if it's
Mm.
some of
conservation.
that property is owned by the
Is it?
state.
Oh, some of it is state
And the
property.
water is governed by the state,
Okay,
so there's
yeah,
legalities there.
yeah, so it could
And
become an issue
Conservation
if,
and Wildlife Division have part of it, and.
yeah, if whoever,
It's like we're not supposed to enforce anything because technically we don't fully own that North Lake property. It's
Okay.
also a portion of it owned by the state.
But
yeah,
then if it begins to be a health hazard, I mean,
Right,
I don't know.
right.
Well,
Or-
so conservation sort of figured out a way to put up signs and sort of prevent like people coming in to use the nature preserve and hike and walk is one thing. They have to hike in and
Right.
leave whatever they
And
brought
take
in
their
with
stuff
whatever
out,
they
right.
brought in. And so it really has cleaned it because they were coming out and leaving trash by the
Yeah.
trash, like
Yeah.
overflowing
Yeah.
and just making a huge mess.
okay,
And I think that they have, I don't know if they put cameras up or what they did. It's definitely 100 times better now this year.
okay,
She can fill you in on the whole thing
Yeah.
and sort of what's enforceable, what isn't
Right.
also.
right,
Because
Okay.
of it being, and that's something that we run into with the lake as well, is it's state owned.
right. So yeah, I'll talk to her and, if it becomes that either the state, whoever officially owns it, if the beach that is, if they're endorsing people to swim there, do they then have to meet the same
Mhm.
beach testing requirements as the town beach? So I will look into that, and either they might have to figure that out, or maybe just say, don't swim here.
Or just
So,
maybe raise the awareness.
Right.
Because,
right,
there's also quite a bit of swimming at the culvert to, South Pond.
oh, okay,
They use that whole, it's a pull off. and
Yeah.
It's people launch their kayaks from there, but I think it was this past weekend, Jim and I were at Kurt's. And had docked our boat and everything, and then we were driving home, and it was like beach party.
oh, okay,
Is that on the Connecticut side?
Well,
Is it once you go over the bridge?
You got the culvert, if you're going past Krabby Joe's, it's that little area right there, is that Connecticut side? I don't know
Is
what's
it
what.
Connecticut
That's
side?
Suffield, yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I'll look into that,
Megan has to give you
In your
the
spare time.
letterhead.
yeah,
In your spare time, when you read the
Good.
riot act of Mr.
Yeah.
Cooper and.
yeah,
Right.
the letterhead,
Yeah, it's just Megan has to give you the letterhead.
oh, okay. Mine different,
Okay,
I don't know, is it?
Is it this one? Probably this one for the agenda, maybe? I don't know. I don't know. What else do we have?
the one that Megan sent us,
oh, okay, oh, yeah.
the nice one.
Okay. All right. The PHE grant. So that we had a meeting on Tuesday. I'd say that was a pretty good meeting. Didn't have full attendance, but it was decent.
Can I interpret? Well,
yeah.
now, well, if Crystal's gonna take over She's taking over Montgomery, so you're not gonna do Montgomery?
No, she's taken, Russell
Russell.
and, Granville.
So will she be sitting in on these meetings?
Possibly, those towns want her to, she could be, or maybe they would prefer their Board of Health members or Select Board
So who
members.
was there? Who was the gentleman that was there? He was from Russell?
Yes, yeah,
He was.
he was
a
a,
selectman?
Board of Selectmen.
What was his
yeah.
name?
Wayne, Precanico, Precanio or something like
So
that.
He was
I don't remember exactly how to say it.
he was a selectman.
So he's a selectman, and their Board of Health and Board of Selectmen, they don't have a Board of Health, so the Board of Selectmen is the Board of Health,
Well, okay.
so.
And who's their health agent then?
Crystal, I think they're in the
Crystal.
process of appointing Crystal.
All right, and Tom is no longer Granville.
Nope. So,
Old Tom?
Tom.
well,
Fitzgerald.
yeah, Tom Fitzgerald,
I don't mean, old, I mean, former Tom, not
Crystal.
old
Oh,
Tom.
they're
Yeah.
Crystal.
yeah. So, so yeah, we had our meeting, we are in the process of finalizing all of the funding for this year. They, are doing it in kind of a complicated way, but long story short, this year we're getting a total of 300,000 to run the grant. And then the town of Southwick gets 45,000 that just goes into the general fund to kind of cover the expense and time of being the administrator for the grant,
So it's 45,000 in addition to the 300.
deducted from the 300. So our operations budget would be 265.
Okay,
And then that 45 just goes right to the town.
okay.
And that's for all the, HR and accounting and payroll and all the work. It's, I guess it's indirectly to cover them. It's not like,
So it's not earmarked for the
yeah,
Board of
it's-
Health.
right, so that's for this year. So we are, obviously we have the nurses, so we're gonna keep them. That's going pretty well. We're gonna hire a shared service coordinator. We decided to do a 25-hour position. I think the pay, depending on the person's experience, was gonna be 25 to 32 an hour. And we will post that once the contract and the budget is finalized from DPH, because there have been some delays on their end. They asked for some revisions to our budget and work plan, which I'm working on. It wasn't anything major. They just wanted more detail for certain things. So that report is due at the end of the month, and then they just sent us the contract for this fiscal year, now that we're just over a month into the fiscal year. And I brought that down, the select board chair has to sign that, so I brought that down to, well, first I had to have the state correct it, because even though the last contract had my name on it, this one that they sent out to be signed still had Alex's information, so I had them correct it. I got it back today and I left it down in the office for Doug to sign. So that will be good. So that's all moving in the right direction.
Is a coordinator a part-time or full-time?
It'll be,
25 hours.
yeah, 25 hours, so two-thirds time, I guess.
Depending what we can find.
Right.
And
So,
that'll take a big load off.
Yeah.
Tom's shoulder.
yeah,
Mhm.
then I can focus
Absolutely.
more on Southwick, because I can't believe how much time I've spent on this grant since I've started.
Mm.
But in the long run, I think it's good. It'll be worth it, but it'll be nice to have someone who can do a lot of that.
Absolutely.
The reporting and
The town will oversee him.
yeah, or,
Over.
And, but if I understand correctly, we had to give money back.
yes,
Is there a way that we can get periodic updates so we know if there's something else we can spend?
Yeah.
Or something,
yeah,
you
so
know,
that's something
so the
that,
qualifications of the grant might be great to know.
Right.
Uh,
yeah, I can send that out of what we can and can't spend money on. I think having that coordinator will help with that.
Mhm.
And also the other big thing that we have to do is, intermunicipal agreement. So that, that's an agreement that all 6 towns, select boards have to sign. And it's like the governance structure for our regionalized group. So we've kind of been operating. We've been trying to operate under what the draft IMA that we have says, but we're still in the Wild West. There's
We
no,
can't get everybody together.
yeah,
Mhm.
so,
Mhm.
so ideally, I'm trying to schedule, so we have a monthly recurring meeting. So that way maybe more people will go, cause over the summer, I mean, summer's tough anyway,
Yeah,
but
yeah, that's-
it's been, a little, I think even a little more tough with this group to get
Mm.
all of the towns together. And then even this week, I had called or emailed separately with every town, found a time that worked for everyone, and we still had 2 towns that didn't show up. So,
Have you, excuse me, have you ever thought of doing like a mixer, like food incentive or something?
oh yeah,
to
we could try that.
to try to get people to come out. Sometimes that
Yeah.
works. Like I know Master Plan, they've done that.
Okay,
You could do Saturday morning, you could do a
yeah,
Friday evening. I mean,
yeah,
I don't know if we get them coming out from Montgomery.
right,
Russell.
right. And
Yeah,
It's, we do a hybrid, they don't have to come in person,
Yeah.
so. So yeah, we'll keep trying it. I'm hopeful that after our meeting the other day, we might be able to get into a routine
Mhm.
of, cause they're technically, if that group ever gets to a point where the IMA is signed and we're legitimized and meeting regularly, that is who should be making any decisions on what we're spending the grant money on.
Mhm.
So the way the IMA is written, each town would have a primary representative and then a backup representative.
Which is kind of funny because we can't even get.
We can barely get a
one
primary for
representative
each
from
town.
a town.
So,
we might have backup.
so I guess to start, we would probably only have primaries for each town, and some of them, it might take a while to find a backup, but. So the way it works, each town gets one vote, so.
So for
And is-
South, oh, excuse me.
Is there feedback from the Board of Health into this? Will there, or are you?
I've been.
Yeah, so
representing
it's
South.
for the each Board of Health to decide who their representative is.
Okay,
So that's
so
what I wanted to talk
good, good,
about.
yeah.
So you said you cannot be a representative.
I don't think so. At least I don't think I should be the primary, but given the fact that I'm paid directly from Southwick, paid directly from Montgomery, and then I also receive my stipend through the grant. I don't know if I can be a voting member. I don't know if, I think that might be a conflict of interest for me to vote. When if it's a vote on the budget, there's a line in the budget, which is part of my salary or part of my stipend. It's not a salary, but
maybe you abstain from that part.
yeah, so that the Mass Association of Health Boards has a lawyer who's helping all of the health districts, with, drafting these IMAs.
Mhm.
So I, reached out to him with some of the questions we had, and that was one of them is what can my role be?
Plus you work for Montgomery.
Right, so it's like, if we had. I could, if I was voting for Southwick and Montgomery, my vote would be, I could almost make decisions myself, which doesn't seem right either, so.
Since nobody shows up.
Right, so if we had three towns at a meeting, my vote
You get 2
alone, would-
votes.
yeah,
Hey.
so that doesn't seem, although it would be convenient because no one shows up to be able to have 2 votes from one person, but, is that fair? Is it legal?
Yeah.
So I think for right now, until we get a clear answer, I probably should not be a voting member for either town, but we'll get a clear
But we
answer on
did,
that.
but
at
we
some
did
point.
have you vote for the part-time
Yeah,
coordinator.
yeah. But right right now, we don't have we don't have any governance structure. We're just, technically, we didn't
So,
even have to
so for
vote.
Southwick, if I was the primary, who would be secondary?
Secondary,
Gary, if you can't do it?
If it could
Yeah.
be Zoom.
yeah, we always meet Zoom and
Yeah,
I just sent out a survey to all the towns. Haven't got any back yet, but I'll bug people if I have to. But I basically did it, for each week, first, second, third, and fourth week of the month. And then I had like a grid with Monday, and then morning, afternoon, and evening. So I'm wondering if evenings, everybody's
Mine would
accustomed,
need to be evenings,
Yeah.
because I don't know what time zone.
Right,
I'll be in.
right, everyone's accustomed to having evening meetings, because pretty much everyone that's going is a Board of Health or Board of Selectmen member. So then it would just be a matter of figuring out when people are available, because we meet on the first Thursday, and the next town might meet on a Tuesday, and so to find which night everyone has free. But I'm hoping that evenings will be better for everyone, and
and if that did happen, you could just set up a Zoom from your house.
right, yeah,
You wouldn't have to come down.
yeah, we could do it totally remote, or we could do a hybrid. Which however we wanted to do it, so.
Well, that's if you wanted to be here.
Right, so that, was a long way of answering, you had asked about, the reports to spend the money. So when we've had those meetings, we've talked about that. This year we gave back about, they had given us $179,000, I think, and I think we gave back, we'll have to give back this month, 41,000.
Oh.
So, part of that was because a lot of it was tied up in the salaries. The nurses didn't start until October. So,
So if we'd had a full year with them, we.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And then towards the end of the year, I was like, this year, we're gonna be getting inspection software for, housing and food inspections. And that will be available to all the towns. So each town will get an iPad. So with last year's money, I bought 8 iPads that are just sitting in my office right now. So when we,
And they're gonna be compatible with.
yeah, they'll be I made sure to check with the company, and, so when we get those, when we get that software, once we get the budget finalized and we get the money, then we can move forward, start using the software, and everyone can
But-
start using the
But with
iPad.
those iPads and with this program, don't we need a printer to print out to give a copy to the
Goes
business? Or
Email.
Just email them.
just emails to
Okay.
them. So we can, if each town, they can make their decision when they get back to the office, if they want to print the reports and keep written records. But I think the software comes with like a storage system, so you don't have to print the reports if you don't want to, so.
Now, will you have to have, if it's like healthcare, would you have to have a backup server somewhere? Because if
I
it's,
I can double check on that.
yeah, just
but-
if something like that would be something you could use a little money for.
Yeah.
Or, most systems, you set it up with a duplicate backup.
Yeah, I think that might be something that's included through
Okay.
the company. I
And it may- the
vaguely
cloud
remember
may
something
be-
about that.
Yeah, it could be a cloud backup.
Yeah,
Okay.
but I think that was included, but I'll look at the documentation and confirm.
Another thing we talked about was per diem health inspector, correct?
Yeah,
To fill in or to help out. That would be kind of like Crystal, right?
right.
Have this person.
Yeah. So rather than, each town, like we have Crystal as a backup now, or Tom or whoever. Rather than each town maintaining a primary and a backup for their inspector. We could have one shared backup. So that way everybody has either when they're really busy or when they're,
Vacation.
they're on, their main inspector's on vacation. They can have someone else they can call when you you're in a jam, because most of these towns, the workload is pretty small, like
Mhm.
in Montgomery. They have one food establishment, and I maybe do 5 to 10 perks there a year, if that. So it's really not a big workload, so, and then at some point, if everyone became comfortable with the, kind of the shared backup, maybe Montgomery would say, look, maybe we don't really need to maintain a primary person, and the grant, if we got more funding, we could make that I think they would always be a backup in Southwick if there was like a grant person, because we're bigger, but maybe we could, for all the small towns, just get one, part-time inspector who covers the 6 towns, and they don't have anyone else, so,
We just don't know how to do it yet, though. whether
yeah. Yeah, it's a work in
per diem,
progress,
if you say
yeah,
10 hours, you say 20 hours, but then what if you don't have
Right.
that time?
right, yeah, I think
Don't
we
know how
could
to do
just,
that.
I think we could just set a rate of like, if you do, either an hourly rate or a per inspection rate, and, you're our backup, if you do a, Title V inspection or a witness a perk, we'll pay you this much.
Or you could even do, you're out for vacation, so that means I'm gonna have to listen,
Right,
So you could do a call, something like a call pay.
Yeah.
Just a little bit per hour.
right,
Per business day or something like that as
Right.
well. Now, is there any need to have a per diem nurse?
I don't think
If
so,
Christine or,
I think because we
Tricia.
have the 2 of them, they
Okay.
can kind
so
of,
they balance out their vacations and they
Yeah.
cover for each other.
yeah, so I think we've got that sorted out.
Okay.
So, and we were looking, I was talking with them about, we're still kind of in progress about, making sure our just internal policy for like tracking Maven, that's really the big thing for nursing, is that, you cannot do, public health promotion meeting or something in one of the town halls for a couple weeks. But the Maven is the thing that 100% of the time has to be covered. So I'm gonna be working with them just to look at, making sure just the policy is clear of like, okay, if Trisha's out, Chris has to cover, and vice versa, and that sort of thing, just to make sure that, that it won't be like, oh, I looked and I thought that was her case, so I didn't get it, and meanwhile, the case goes
Mhm.
unnoticed for a few days or a week or whatever, so we're just shoring that up right now to
Mhm.
make sure that's good, but I don't think we're having any major issues with it, but, just wanted to make sure it was good, so.
If I can help with any of that,
Okay,
because staffing was kind of what I used to do in
Oh,
my
great.
former life as well, so. I
okay,
can help you with any policies or anything like that. let
oh,
me-
awesome,
If that's allowed.
I think it is, I know it is,
Just let
it
me-
is,
let me
yeah,
know.
yeah,
Okay.
awesome, thank you,
Okay.
I think I will take you up on that.
Yeah. I do a lot of airport time, so I
Oh,
can
yeah.
give you a lot of stuff. to do.
Cool, so I think that was pretty much everything we talked about with the grant.
Well, the nurses come October, we have to think about an increase,
Yeah.
some kind of
Yeah,
cost of living.
yeah,
But you're only coming up with 3 or 2%, correct?
I think I'd have to look up, I don't have it off the top of my head, but I think it was around there.
And we're thinking of Tricia, since she's a full-time one, and she's here, that she would be like the
The lead,
lead.
Mhm.
yeah, so,
So would we give them their cost of living or whatever their,
yeah,
plus then Tricia would then get extra.
right. For taking on the additional,
Just a stipend.
Yeah.
for doing-
yeah, so,
Now, did you talk to them about that at all?
yeah, a little bit, I think we're gonna be meeting, in the next week or so to talk about that, because, I was gonna tie it in when we talk about making sure the Maven coverage is good, so.
So tell me about Maven. I don't.
Maven is, so I'm actually trained,
I'm
I'm
thinking
doing,
that's a woman, so.
no.
So tell me.
Maven is I'm doing the training for it now. It's the Massachusetts Virtual Epidemiological Network. So any reportable illnesses from doctors' offices, hospitals, testing facilities get sent into Maven, and DPH
So it's
has,
mandatory reporting.
Yeah.
the stuff that- yeah.
yeah, so anything that needs a follow-up, norovirus, or, you know, all the reportable illnesses that the nurses talk about during their reports.
Mhm.
And sometimes it's just a matter of, all you do is you go in and just acknowledge that, yes, we are aware it's in town and there's this one case. And then sometimes, depending on what it is, they have to do a whole case
So
investigation.
if it's TB, you would
Yeah,
have to do
yeah.
some
Yeah.
contact tracing, okay.
Yeah, and I think norovirus, they have to do a follow-up, and sometimes the state epidemiologists will get involved, and they'll be able to help them out. So that's kind of the whole system for that.
Thank you.
So that's one of the things in the grant that they want all the health directors to
Mhm.
have. And I think it's in that, there's been talk the past few years of the SAFE bill of like promoting public health and
Mhm.
funding. So if that passes, I think all of the health directors will need to be trained on Maven. So I started the training on that, which will be good, because then if, you know, Tricia primarily covers Southwick, which is the busiest town for Maven, because we have the biggest population. So that way, if Tricia's out, Chris is only part-time, so that way, you know, I don't know if I would be able to work on all 6 towns, or just, even if it was just Southwick. Then I could, you know, when Tricia's out, I could help and make sure that Southwick is covered. So that way, between Chris and I, we could make sure all the towns are covered completely, so.
That's another thing. So Chris being part-time, and if she did have to cover something for Tricia,
Yeah,
do we have that built into the budget extra?
there is a little, I don't remember how many hours extra, but there is a little buffer there for the year. And I confirmed with HR, with Nadine, that, you know, in, I guess, extreme circumstances or whatever, she can work over the 20 hours. But if it became, with my approval, if it became every single week that she was working 23 hours, 24 hours, then we would have to offer her benefits. And so, but if it's, you know, when Tricia's out, or if
they're
there's
working- yeah, they're working on something big.
something out of the ordinary going on,
Like a pandemic.
yeah. So I told her, if, you know, if you do ever have a crazy week, or Tricia has a vacation, I think in September. So I'll tell her, you know, if, you know, you're gonna have to cover the 5 days of the week. So if you don't want to arrange, like, take hours from your other days, if you wanna, the days you have off, if you wanna take an hour extra and,
Yeah,
you know,
you
be
gotta-
over your
It has to be
19.
some kind of limit, yeah.
Yeah,
How
so.
many hours you can have.
So I'll tell her, I'll make sure she's aware of that. I've talked to her about it before, but before Tricia goes away, I'll remind her that if you can't do everything in your 19 hours, it's okay to take a few extra hours.
In this case.
In this case, or if there's other cases that come up, to let me know before you take the extra hours, like,
Are they weekly or bi-weekly paid?
bi-weekly.
So if she were able to take some
Yeah.
hours back the
Yeah.
next week.
And she's done that before. I think
Okay.
for the health fair, I think that week she worked extra hours that week and less hours the
Yeah,
next week,
yeah.
so. So it's in their employee agreements, it's written that it's, you know, their hours are flexible, because, you know, the town hall and town meetings in each different town are on, in the evenings, or,
Mm.
and some of the small towns, you know, she normally will go up, I think, to Blandford on like a Monday or a Friday, but then sometimes town hall's closed, and then she has to rework her schedule. So they are flexible, which is good.
How does it work for holidays for part-time? You know,
Not paid for 'em.
Yeah, yeah. So I know that there has been some holidays where she's had remote stuff.
Is it prorated based on 19 hours, you get X amount of,
No, I think if she would either, if we had a holiday Monday, she would just not work the Monday and then do her 19 hours in the other 4 days.
so
Or
she doesn't get paid? for
No.
holiday? Oh, she doesn't get paid
No.
for that, it's not prorated,
No.
okay,
just get paid for the time you work when you're part-time.
okay.
But there has been times too when it's been a holiday and she's had remote work she could do. So she worked, a few hours anyway on the Monday when everyone else was off. I know one time payroll question, they were like, did she really work on the holiday? I was like, yeah, I'll double check with her, but she's part-time. She's
She doesn't get- she doesn't get-
part-time and remote,
She
so
doesn't
I'm,
get time and a half
no,
for that.
no, so. So yeah, so that's that, and then we've been, meeting one meeting per month for the summer. And I was curious what your thoughts were of continuing that throughout the year. In my opinion, I like doing one meeting a month because Megan and I spend a decent amount of time during the week, prepping the agendas and all the stuff for so sometimes I found when we were meeting, 2 times a month, and especially before Megan had started, it would feel like I just got through a meeting and all ready for a meeting, and then it's like, oh my God, I've got to get ready for the next meeting already. So, so I'm curious what your thoughts were. I'm not totally against doing 2 meetings a month. I think that has a benefit too of, having more continual meetings, but, just wanted to see what you thought, and, maybe we would wanna, if Mackenzie's at the next meeting, maybe that's something would be better to discuss with the full board.
I know Mackenzie would like to do one meeting.
Yeah,
I've thought about that there'd be less time you would have to spend here than
Right.
here. You could have more time in the office.
right,
And now that we have you on board, and you have everything, between you and Megan, you have everything tip top shape. However, if something comes up like a pandemic or
Yeah.
something where we did meet once a week.
Right.
Or if, we couldn't meet that one Thursday, we'd have to pick up another.
right,
When we can do that, we can talk to downstairs and you can always schedule
Yeah.
another meeting. You can't,
Right.
it's not
Yeah.
like you can't do that. You could do that now if you were even meeting 2 times a week.
But
and you
I'd
had to
also-
meet
I'd
weekly.
also like to just run it by Carl and Michelle
okay,
and see what they
okay,
think. I mean, I can email them and ask
Yeah.
them. Yeah.
Yeah.
see what they think.
And I'm with Mackenzie. I would just as soon do one, it's easier when traveling.
Yeah.
To do one meeting. And I guess my question is, have we lost anything? I'm new to this. Have we lost do you feel like we've lost any ground over the summer by doing it one, because you could always call an ad hoc meeting if we have to.
right,
Um,
right. I don't feel like we've lost any. I feel like I've gained a little time in the office. I can
mhm.
get stuff done, which was quickly eaten up by the grant.
Oh,
but,
sure, I can,
But,
well, just all those gajillion perks you
Yeah.
did. Yeah.
yeah,
See, and you and I can't discuss Board of Health work, but I can talk to Tom and say, hey, Tom, what have you been doing? What's going on?
right,
Oh,
yeah.
you can't ask me what Tom's been doing. I know.
Any of the board members can,
Well, actually, you know what? We're not making any decisions or discussions, but it seems to me I would be able to tell Terry that, oh yeah, Tom did a perk at this today. Is that against open meeting law?
I don't-
think it is.
I don't know, I mean,
As long as you don't have is that a quorum that constitutes? a
yeah,
quorum?
technically
of
two
us?
is a
But
quorum,
we're not making a
We're
decision.
not voting
Right.
on anything.
I'm just saying this is what Tom did.
It's
Yeah,
like-
I
It's
I
like
think it's
sending
better
out,
if you go through either myself or Tom and then I
Yeah.
can be
Well, that's-
CC Terry.
Well, that's how it
or
always was.
Sue.
Tom
yeah,
Alex would
right,
email, talk to me and then talk to that person
Yeah.
and talk to that person, but it went through him.
right, yeah. Yeah, I think if you like bumped into each other at the grocery store and we're like, oh, I just talked to Tom, he was doing it's purely factual. I think if you get into more like discussion of like, oh, I think this is my opinion on that issue, even though if you weren't voting, I think that's kind of when the
Well, if we-
issue arises, but I'd have to look it up I haven't read that,
If we talked about this, I started to say U-Haul, this haul permit and all of that
Right.
outside, that's really not in a
Right,
gray
right.
area.
right,
But, yeah, okay.
yeah, so,
Jim always gets the groceries, so you
Oh.
probably won't see me in the grocery store
Yeah, my
anyway.
husband does the groceries. When I go to the store, it's like, I don't know where things are, or,
Mm-mm,
yeah.
they
no.
moved everything on you, they would do
Yeah.
that once in a while.
So what are we continuing as is unless when you
Yeah,
talk to
Yeah.
Carl, we can?
I just wanna email Carl and email Michelle and
Yeah,
see what their thoughts are. I mean, cause I could see we probably don't have to be, we don't have the pandemic anymore. Tom's got everything under control.
He's getting a shared service
We got the
coordinator.
nurses
Yeah.
now, we got a secretary.
Thank
Um,
you.
And it's not like we have decisions to make. It's not
Every
like the
2
planning
weeks.
board of
Right.
conservation.
Yeah.
You know, you have a book, you go by it, you
yeah,
approve permits, approve this, approve that.
yeah, and I know in Westfield, they only met once a month, and if something came up, like say I had my vacation at the end of the month and we didn't vote on Crystal tonight. We could find a date that works for everyone before I leave and say, okay, August 20th and post it with 48 hours, just like normal. And that could be the one, like if we need to make a decision, that could be the one item on our agenda
Yeah,
is,
we did that with the planning
yeah.
board last week. We had to meet for 2 weeks ago. We
Yeah, and
met
we've
for
done
one
that
thing.
before.
Yeah.
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 So we do decide on this, then they'd have to change the town.
yeah, on the website, yeah. So we'll continue that. For September, we already had voted, that was gonna be a 1 meeting month anyway. So we'll consult with Carl and Michelle, make sure it's not gonna be an issue, and then we can either continue to discuss it next month or vote on it next month,
Yeah.
and
that
for
sounds good.
October.
You want me to put together a tentative like meeting schedule for the year
Yeah.
that everybody can look at
Yeah.
and see if there's any conflicts or vacations?
Yeah.
Usually like with planning, we do that. So I put together my dates, September through August, honestly, because we do our 1 meeting over the summer and then everyone goes through to see, and I check the school calendar to make sure there's no vacation weeks,
Mhm.
Yeah.
And obviously, we have to worry about annual town meeting and things like that, because we meet on Tuesdays, but you guys don't have to worry about
Right,
that. And then that way we can have the room booked
Right,
through the
Sounds
year.
good.
I can give those to Lisa.
right,
We can do that too if you want.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, I think we have. I know I checked with Lisa soon after I started and the room was booked. I don't know
First
when
and third,
it was
just-
through, but
yeah.
it went pretty far. So yeah, we would just have to let her know once
Yeah.
we decide, but
Sounds good.
alright. Alright, so septic has been busy, a lot of perks,
Fast ones, I hope.
yeah, for the most part, there was a couple.
So these means
Couple
you did a
slow.
perk and you approved the plan.
Yep, if it's Perkin plan, yep, 85 Granville, that is,
Oh, and you just.
that one is new construction,
Oh,
that's that,
no, that was new construction.
Okay.
I'll know, I meant to do that on here,
That's
but
all
I.
right, Megan can write
Yeah.
that new.
85 Granville, that one was new construction, and the structure of the house is up, but they haven't finished it. It's been sitting like that for like a year or two, they had some sort of,
Is it one house or
delay.
two?
one house, there's two separate, it was interesting, and not related to the septic at all, but it was two separate. Like buildings
Yeah.
connected by a covered porch, but there was
Okay.
no walls there, so I was like, and it looked like it wasn't like a garage in the back and the front it looked like both were intended to be finished. It's not framed, it's just framed, there's no
Is,
Oh, wow.
drywall or anything up, but you could see in,
is this,
So weird.
right up the hill there?
yeah,
Now, you did a perk?
Yeah,
How
so,
would you get a perk if they buildings are?
so they had a system previously. And it was in the front of the house. And that was approved and permitted.
Okay,
And for one reason or another, they decided we don't want the septic to be in the front of the house. So they did another perk and another plan, which I just approved this week, for the system to be on the side of the house.
okay.
So. But it was I was like that. Like, is that gonna be like the bedrooms there, and then in the winter, you have to walk outside on the covered porch to get to your kitchen? I don't know, I haven't seen the actual house plans, but,
I think this,
or maybe they're gonna put walls up there at some point. Yeah, I'm not sure, I'm not sure. 152 Feeding Hills Road, that was a repair. Did the perk and the plan. 220 College Highway, that is the food pantry.
That's
And
the new,
yep, the new system, so that's gonna, I think all of the,
is that the one Tom did?
yeah, I think all of that's gonna be considered like one facility, so it's all gonna be tied into one system. But Tom did the perk there. 53 Powder Mill Road, that one is repair. That was pretty straightforward. 219 Vining Hill Road will be a repair. Just did the perk, I think it was last week, and didn't get the plan yet. Same with 232 Feeding Hills Road. 636 College Highway is the florist, and they just did the perk last week. That one was, we got so much rain that the soil was actually pretty wet. So they ended up doing a soil sample rather than a perk test.
Is that's in Title V?
Yep, yeah, you can do that. So that's the sieve analysis that they do. So they technically have to file the local upgrade approval for it, but
So how does that work?
they will they'll send the soil sample to a lab, and they run it through a series of sieves, and then they know exactly like the percentage of each different particle size, and then they can kind of in the code, there's a guide of what translates to what, and it determines kind of, I guess, the equivalent to the perk rate. And it's usually it's usually you don't want to do that if you don't have to, because it's very conservative. So if you do the sieve analysis, it ends up meaning a bigger system than if you were able to do the perk test. But
And where would groundwater be?
it was I don't remember exactly. It wasn't very deep or very, I think it was like 3 or 4 feet. So I don't think it will be an issue for the system. But
And this was the one with the wacky system to start out with, that they couldn't join town water, is this?
yes,
Okay.
well, those 3 businesses there, the florist, Zuber's, and the Arrow Oil and the Chinese restaurant, those 3 do not have sewer. And the I guess Zuber put in their system like a year or 2 ago before I started, and the Chinese restaurant actually is going to have to, they're in the process of starting to have to plan their new system. So it's too bad all 3 at once didn't fit, because then it would have been more feasible and made sense for all 3 to pitch in together, and but that's not how it panned out. So
Across the street there, the design, one by the yoga place.
Kitchen by Design?
No, so the yoga. The
Is
yoga
that,
building,
Oh, what's his name?
the decorator,
King Brothers?
Yeah,
King
King
Brothers.
Brothers.
Now, at one time, they had their own septic system too,
okay,
and I don't think they've ever hooked in.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, as far as I know, it goes down Feeding Hills, so they're maybe far enough back that it wouldn't make sense for them to connect.
Yeah, well, they came before us and
Oh, okay, Yeah,
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, that's all right. that's all right. That's what we're here for. Yeah, so 465 North Loomis, which we already discussed at length. 11 Overlook, that's up in the ranch neighborhood there. That was a final inspection.
And that was new?
Yep, new construction. I think it's one of the. I think it's the last lot. There's another one that they haven't finished with their building permit, but I think their septic is already in. So I think that's the last. It was a very tough site. It's like this steep, the whole lot. So the house was up on the road, and then the leach field was probably like 20-30 feet down in elevation. So there's a steep slope like along the side of the house. And with all the rain that they've had, the installer was saying there was like 3 times they had to bring in fill just to pack down on the slope so that they could drive their equipment down there.
Wow.
But it looked good. The engineer was there when I was there, and everything was good, but I think it was pretty ugly for them to have to put that in. But they said there was only one time that they had washout onto the green below them behind the house. So, and it was in the off season, so the ranch was okay with it, and they were able to. It didn't ruin anything, but that was a tough one. And then 7 Reservoir Road. That was a 7 Reservoir, 19 Loomis, and 234 Feeding Hills were all just either a D box or a tank inspection. I think Reservoir was just a D box, and then 19 Loomis was a D box and a tank, and 234 was just a tank. Housing 3248 Lakeview. As far as I can tell, I really don't think the guy is living there anymore, so I'm gonna take it off of our agenda. It's still condemned. I think I will follow up with town council at some point. It's really not our role to make sure that it gets removed from the town property. But I will follow up just to make sure that the issue doesn't reemerge if, anybody tries to move back in or anything like that. So, but I will take it off our agenda, and if we end up doing anything else with it, or if anything happens, I'll let you guys know, but nothing really to report on that. 160 Point Grove Road, that is the I can't remember the name of the apartments, but the apartments on Point Grove Road, right before the Connecticut
What do
line.
they call them now? Lakeside?
Lakeview, Lakewood,
Used to be Lakeview,
Like,
maybe
I think
Lakewood.
Lakewood.
Lakewood Village, maybe.
Sure.
There was I think probably in March, I did an inspection there, and it was in the same unit. The occupant had some concerns about the wiring in the apartment. And she had told, the building inspector came with me, she had told Kyle and I that if the power went out, when it came back on, her heat didn't work. So at the time, everything was working. There was no violation for us to see. So we said, let us know when it becomes an issue. So she had called me it was in an evening, and left a few messages over the course of the evening of, it was this time it was the AC, which is a little different because AC isn't required by the housing code. But still, if there's an electrical problem, it should be fixed. So she had called me and said it wasn't working. The power went out and that the AC wasn't working. And I think maybe her stove, anything that was high voltage wasn't working. And then a follow-up call that maintenance was out there and they couldn't figure it out. And then a follow-up call that they were getting an electrician. So I had followed up with the property manager. It was actually when they were opening their pool. So on that Friday, I saw the, property manager anyway. So she said they were working on getting an electrician and they offered her a hotel, which she ended up not wanting to stay in the hotel, but they, so I think it was like the July 4th weekend, if I remember correctly. So it was tough for them to get the electrician, but I think the electrician came out on the Monday, got everything fixed. The ACs were everything. So I never actually went out. I never even went into the apartment to do an inspection to say, yes, there's a violation, but I just kind of coordinated to make sure that everything would be fixed. And so on the Monday, they had everything fixed and was working again. So this past week that the occupant wanted a copy of the violation notice, and I explained to her there was no violation notice because even before I knew about it, the property management was doing exactly what they were supposed to be doing. And if I did an inspection and a violation, I would have said, hey, fix it. And by the time I sent them the letter, it would have already been fixed. So I did write her a letter kind of outlining what I was told by her and by the property management and what I observed was done, just to have that documented. So that's why I'm telling you guys about it, just because that's what I said in my letter, is that basically what happened. So but yeah, as far as I can tell, all has been corrected there. Food service did all the food inspections at the WIC. They had 6 different vendors, but a few, I know Malicious had a few, I think they had 3 different trucks. I think that Dino's Concessions had a few different ones. So did all the inspections the day before the event. They were all set up already and everyone was good. Mac and Sliders, they are a food truck out of Southwick, and they have been doing the concerts at Wally Park. So the first week they were there, I did the inspection, and that's a nice food truck. East Silver Charcuterie, that is a new, we licensed her as a caterer, but so she's going to be operating out of Tucker's. She's using their space, but she's a separate business from them. And she prepares charcuterie boards for people to have at their parties. So that's like,
What are those?
it's like the fancy, like chopped up cheese and,
Olives, stuff like
Yeah.
that.
yeah, like sometimes they'll have like the dehydrated fruit and crackers and,
So Tucker's is her base.
yeah, so she's gonna use their location when they're closed or during the slow times, and she's not really cooking anything, but she's preparing it. She's chopping up the cheese and the meat and then arranging it on the board in a way that it looks fancy. So then when you put it out at your party, everyone's impressed.
So is she gonna be yearly? Is she going to be someone that we're going to send a notice to?
Yeah.
To renew the permit yearly?
Yep. So we licensed her as a
So
caterer.
we need to put her on the caterer.
Yep,
Um,
the renewal list. So
can you, yeah.
so that was good.
So it's just caterer, it's not. gonna
Just
be-
caterer, yeah, she's gonna do delivery or people can pick up
In Delaterra, did we decide last week or last time that was caterer and food service?
I think so, yes. Yeah, I think that's what we had said. The Legion, I meant to put them under the WIC category, but they were, and the East Silver Charcuterie, that I just did the inspection this week, so I don't think she's officially opened yet, but I gave her permit and she's good to go. And the Legion was at the WIC. They have their kitchen is the building there. So I inspected that as well. And the town beach has been good. We've had a few weeks. We had the 2 weeks that it was high. It was like in the 270s and then 290s. And then since then, it's been in the 30s. It was like 30, 31, 33. And last week, it was 6. So it's been, something's going right there, I guess.
Well, it shifted to Babs Beach because.
Yeah,
they were closed.
I guess so. I guess so.
And yet we drove by and there people swim. and
Oh, really?
it's Just like,
And I'm gonna check my email right now. I did this sample for this week. And that was Monday. And I'm just checking to see if the results, no, we haven't got the results, so we'll get the results
So who
tomorrow.
are we sending it to now?
Pace Labs in East Long Meadow. Or Pace or they have like 2 names, Contest is the other name, I'm not sure which is,
So we
I
can
think
go
Pace
Pace.
is the,
Pace/contest?
yeah. And they've been good.
So Megan, on those minutes that we approved, we said that Tom was trying out a new testing lab.
Mhm.
Can you just insert the name
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pace/contest in East Long Meadow? Because I didn't have the name of the lab.
Okay. And then, so that's it. So yeah, we'll hopefully get another good result, from this week. I sampled it on Monday and then I think they're gonna close. You would know, I think the 20th,
Mhm.
so,
20th of
of August, yep. So I think a lot of the
the
employees are students, so they're having a tough, as you get closer to the school year. You know,
the
people are starting to have sports and, yeah,
Well, they started early this year. They just,
then
But
they
they
started a
got
week
close.
early and then got closer 2 weeks. So. Cindy had said they were gonna have scheduling issues towards the end of the month, so they're probably gonna be closing on the 20th, so. So it'll be only 2 or 3 more weeks of doing that, depending on what day they actually close, so. So hopefully that stays good for the rest of the season, and then for meetings, we already talked about the grant meeting. And Western Mass Public Health, we had a meeting. And there's a new training, can't think of the name of it, but a community sanitation trainer from DPH that was at the meeting. So that's kind of a whole new thing DPH is doing, along with the PHE program that have the grant through. So they're working to get, like, I think they're calling them training hubs, getting that implemented. So,
Are you meeting in person or?
yeah, I usually meet at Paisanos.
Okay.
So we've talked about that, and then, we also did a scholarship program for people to take the RS review course. So we offered that to, I think 30 people, 29 throughout the state. Because even though our Western Mass is in our name, the funding for the group from the state says you have to be a statewide thing. So it was actually probably 50-50 of Eastern Mass and Western Mass people that were, that we gave that scholarship to. So that, and then we're planning on our seminar in October at the log cabin. Working on getting all the speakers to come so everybody can get their CEUs. So, but nothing too crazy to report there. And I don't think anything unanticipated from the last 48 hours. So unless you guys have anything else, then I think our next meeting will be September 7th.
Do you have anything else?
no.
No, will you be around September 7th or traveling?
Ooh, let's see, I think I am available to travel that week. I may be traveling, so I'll join in. I don't have my schedule, but that's one of my scheduled weeks to work. I don't know if I'll be actually going anywhere or not.
All right.
So I'll be zooming in.
Okay, so Megan, get the minutes, because I forgot, I don't know whether you sent them or not, it's been so long.
Yeah, we get.
Yeah, you got them right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, make a motion to adjourn the meeting at 7:30.
I second.
All in favor?
I.
Terry, aye.
Yep.
Sue, aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Subject